Welcome back, everyone, to the LEC. Whew! I just need to take a minute because things have gotten absolutely crazy here, and Mad is one game away from winning their first ever best of 5 in the playoffs over the reigning champions, G2 Esports. A G2 Esports that, with Caps, has not lost a single best of 5 in Europe ever. Experts, what's going on?
I mean, it's pretty unprecedented as to what is going on right now, because you look at OG versus Fnatic and you wouldn't be surprised if OG found an upset. Misfits versus Rogue, hey, that's anyone's best of 5. But this series was supposed to be set in stone. Everyone believed that, oh, maybe Mad gets a game. G2, they usually always throw one game in a best of 5. But for Mad, our 4th seed, to push G2 this far has been nothing but impressive. This team is having the series of their life right now, and they are continuing to put G2 down.
Yeah, and it's the matter at which they've been doing it. And before, because I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about what's been happening to G2, but just kind of focusing in on Mad, and Yamato has said it repeatedly in the cast, it's the fact that every single member, all 5 of them individually and their individual mechanics are showing up at the same time. It's the fact that while the drafts, I think you can make an argument kind of one way or the other, they haven't been played, at least they're playing fearless. Mad are playing with nameplates off. They do not care that this is G2. They are skirmishing, they are fighting, and they are outmaneuvering them. And sometimes they are even making better macro decisions. So it's like this collective that Mad are having the best games individually of their careers, and then also having the best series as a team, and it has to start with that in terms of the perfect storm to get one of the greatest upsets of LEC history.
It's even, dare I say, G2-esque, but let's not go too far, and I'm looking for the right idiom, get our bacon before the pig's sold, I don't know. Anyway, let's yes, so let's talk about what we've seen, thank you, in these 3 first games. And I think I just want to kind of take a step back and look at from both teams what the positives and the negatives have been so far. And you already said one, Mad is having the games of their lives. They're all playing on point. They're making the right decisions. Is there also a standout player who's going above and beyond today?
Well, I think we have to talk about Carzzy. This man in the bot lane has been fantastic. I know many of us have spoken about him being a potential rookie of the split, but he himself, towards the very end of the split, was saying, I don't actually think I deserve it. I think either Kaiser or Razorg or someone else should actually get it. And you know, when we listened to him at the very start of the split, he was like, I'm going to earn this. I'm going to take this. I'm going to prove to everyone that I can be one of the best AD carries in Europe. And as the split kind of progressed, I think he had his moments. I think he had standout games. But for the most part, I just saw him as a very solid, reliable AD carry that didn't actually try to draw too much attention to himself. But this series, I feel like it's all been about him. I feel like that he's been on the front lines. He's been diving in. And I feel like we're getting to see a lot more of the player that we got to see instances of during the regular season.
I believe Indiana was muted again.
Oh God, every time. I'm just getting trolled by this mute.
I'm sad that you haven't heard that, but I'm sure she'll reiterate it. But I'm just going to pick it up there. After Carzzy and after singing the praises of Mad, which I think they very much deserve and we'll get back to at the end of this segment, but we need to talk about G2. And I also want to hear your positives and your negatives about G2. So give me one positive before you rip into them.
Positive about G2?
Yeah.
Okay, I think that there was a shift, and I said this on Twitter, that you could see in the middle of that game where it almost felt like everyone in the comms was like, come on guys, like, let's get it together. We have to win this game. And suddenly they weren't dogpiling on a lot of fights. They were much more cautious about how they were maneuvering around vision and looking for picks. It almost felt like they slowed down and they kind of went back to basics on playing around pressure. And I was like, okay, G2 are now going to... They're done messing around. They're done just forcing random fights, and then Caps gets caught. But if Caps doesn't get caught there, I think you have a very different game. I think that's one that G2 might be able to claw back. So to me, it feels like G2 have made the mental switch that they're suddenly going to be preferably back into form, or at least better than what we've seen for the first half of this series. But I don't know if that's good enough to beat Mad on this day right now.
I mean, that is the point. And now I'm going to give you the floor to kind of rip into them, because these are our reigning champions. These are the guys we expected to turn it on for playoffs, and now they're getting bullied around. Now they're making mistakes. What is your read on how G2 is approaching this best of 5?
Well, for me, I think that what we've seen a lot of so far in the series is their drafts are very conditional. These things must happen in order for them to win. And I think we've seen it 3 games in a row now. And the funny thing is, in every single game, we're seeing these really crazy and ridiculous early game strats where one team gets an advantage over the other one. And then the rest of the game is pretty much either one team pushing, one team defending, and we're just swip-swapping who actually gets the early game advantage. But this game, I felt like we saw some initially good setups, but they were from Mad Lions. They weren't from G2. It was Mad Lions that found a 2v2 kill in the bot lane. It was Mad Lions that set up a really well-executed 3 versus 1 dive top. These are the plays that we come to expect from a G2 Esports. These are the plays that we expect from the best team in Europe, but we're not seeing them. I feel like they're getting lazy. I feel like that they're getting sloppy, and I feel like that they're disrespecting their opponents, or at least they came into this series not expecting this much from Mad, because right now, Mad is playing super well. We know that. But it comes at the cost as well of G2 playing so poorly. The amount of mistakes that we're seeing from them is just so surprising, and just opening the door for a very good team to just walk in and take what is rightfully theirs.
It just feels like they're like shooting from the hip, that they're playing super reactionary. I agree. There's no plan or forethought, and outside game 2, there's not even great like individual performances. You had PERKZ step up on the Rumble, you had Wunder on the set, Mikyx on the Recon, but otherwise it's been like a coin flip for everyone else.
And now we're going to look forward, of course. There are 2 scenarios here. Or Mad Lions do the unthinkable, and they've got it in the palm of their hands, and they knock G2 down to the lower bracket of these playoffs. Or G2 do what we've seen them done in the past, and that is bounce back when they are behind in series. We know they can. So I want to hear from you. How does Mad close it out? And or how does G2 come back in this series?
Well, I want to mention something that you talked about, Shox, the comeback, specifically for PERKZ. He's been in this situation before where he's down in a series and come back 4 different times, 2 of them being against Fnatic last year. Many people joke about it, about this is the PERKZ comfort zone. And if he was going to come out and have that star level performance, now would be the time. And this is where we get to look at G2 being in that interesting position where they seem to perform better under pressure. But with Mad having the series of their lives, you have to bring into question, will that be enough? Can they kick into gear enough to actually challenge what looks to be like a peak performing Mad Lions? I think we need to see a huge shift up in the draft. I think we need to see way more reinforcement in like, let's play around PERKZ. Let's try and get him ahead. Let's try and attack Humanoid more, because I think that if you don't find some sort of star to play through to kind of funnel resources into, then the fact that Mad Lions are playing so well across the board should be enough to actually take down this G2 squad.
Dicey one. Dicey one. Do you want to get in there, Indiana?
Yeah, I'm really struggling with mute right now. It's like as hard as G2 are playing right now. I agree. I think G2 are going to fight for mid priority in the jungle mid position and make sure that they have the superior 2v2. I think that means that Shadow is not going to ever see Lee Sin for the rest of this series. He's too much a comfort on that champion. I think Jankos rolled the dice, tried to take the Elise into the matchup, and like Shadow was like ward hopping around the Spiderlings to make sure that the Sonic Wave connect and really outplaying around the matchup, which was cool. And I think that if Mad Lions really want to be clever, maybe you roll the dice and you grab Humanoid on another tank, because you expect G2 to try to break you in the mid lane. And you're like, I'll play Ornn Nautilus mid again. Like I've shown I can do it the first 2 times. Like come at me, and then they throw everything down to Carzzy. I think right now in this series, Mad Lions look much more versatile in how they're attacking the map.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. If we cast our mind back to a couple of hours ago when we were in Ready Check and said they have to take this as a learning experience, it's a great honor to play G2 Esports. I mean, in the end, what's the worst that can happen? And now we are talking about a Mad Lions that could upset G2. But as said, nothing is done yet. What I know for sure is that the script is completely out of the window, because Mad Lions have completely turned this best of 5 on its head. But now they have to finish it. And that's where we see if they truly are capable of completing this upset, or if G2 will fight back. Whoa, what a day. Mad Lions are only 1 win away from shocking the esports world as we prepare for match point, possibly in this first series of the playoffs.
it, don't mind it.
It was a bit expected that G2 would pick us in the first round because we are the easiest opponent for them. But at the same time, I think we are the team that can also show them something special.
So I'm pretty happy that G2 chose us because I think we have like pretty similar styles in that we play heavily for like kills and like team fights, mechanical outplays, stuff like that. And I think it's gonna be like a really fun matchup.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to match point in the first playoff series of the LEC Spring Split 2020. Mad Lions on the verge of doing the unthinkable. They are playing the series of their lives, as FLICKR put it earlier today, and they are punishing G2 in every opportunity. Mad Lions are playing proactively, they are earning their victories, and as it stands, they might just look like the better team on the day. I'm joined by Yamato Cannon once more for what could be the last game of the first round in the upper bracket. Reminder that whoever loses here drops down to the lower bracket. They are not eliminated from playoffs just yet. Yamato, what do you want to see happen in the draft as G2 have elected red side?
I am hoping that they get strong lanes. I feel like it's been all about the early game. Whoever has a stronger early game seems to just win out. To snowball seems very easy for both sides. We saw it in the first game, the second, the third. Whoever has the stronger lanes and more opportunities for their junglers just seems to execute better. So I hope both teams have recognized this because it just seems to be an early game meta in this series.
Yeah, it does feel that way. G2 had the historical stats from the regular season, especially in the second half. Mad Lions have showed phenomenal growth in that area of their gameplay, and as we catch up on the bans, Pantheon, Thresh, Silas removed from the pool, Callista first ban, sending a big signal to Carzzy, Senna, and Syndra. So this leaves priority picks in Set, in Lee Sin, champions that we've seen throughout the series. Aphelios was first picked by G2 Esports in the previous game as well. There's a couple options there, but I think Lee Sin for Shadow, that has to be a consideration for me.
Whoa, okay. So Renekton was banned the previous games. It's kind of weird to see it as first because I agree with you. Set first pick or hopefully not the Aphelios, because Aphelios just seems cursed, honestly. Just stay away from Aphelios. So whatever team has Aphelios just seems to lose in this series, so stay away.
But hang on. But you just said to me a moment ago, this series has been defined by early game. Renekton equal early game equal G2. Like, that feels good to me.
Honestly, it fits the bill. G2 have read something completely different in the game. At least they didn't lock Aphelios. Ornn and Ezreal, they are the scaling options. Ornn is fine matchup into Renekton, but Humanoid loves to play that Renekton too. It's all about what jungler Shadow picks, usually Gragas. If they decide to lock in Set here and maybe AD carry, what is going to happen next? That's a big question.
Okay, if they go Set and AD carry, there's your AD carry. Ding, Kaiser for Carzzy. It's the first one in the series. I need to check. Yes, I think so. Carzzy for me is playing out of his... actually, I'm going to take a statement back. I think Mad Lions as a whole, they have all had phenomenal performances, and Yamato, you called that one perfectly. The Kaiser, the Set is now locked in. There's some flexibility in swapping those two, and the Yuumi Ezreal, dude, I'm seeing early game for Mad, and I'm seeing time and scaling for G2, and I'm already starting to get nervous based on the trend that we've seen this series.
I am super nervous. Like, G2, sure, if they reach that 20-minute mark, the composition looks juicy and all, but you're lining yourself up for a very rough early game. It's one of those games where Jankos needs to cover his lanes and not play that aggressive game that he likes to play. I am very worried, unless PERKZ can be put on some crazy last pick mid that is going to be able to dominate together with PERKZ and just control the map. But it's kind of tough to see now because Mad Lions will have the better options in the early game based off the first 3 picks.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I wonder where Shadow's going to go. Lee Sin is picked away. No, it's not. Lee Sin's still available. So Olaf gone, Gragas gone. So we're still looking for jungle picks. Talia taken out of the pool as well. So Lee Sin has to be a consideration here. We've seen an Elise this series. We've seen a Kindred this series. They've sort of been the go-tos. Do you see a jungle pick being a priority for G2?
It's just weird because even if Mad Lions get Lee Sin here, the composition is so AD heavy already, so I don't even know if Lee Sin is good for them. It's just they need to have an AP champion somehow, and just to match with the Renekton and then with the Kaiser. Like, Kaiser, sure, you can build AP, but the AP damage comes so late in the game, so it's still very AD heavy.
Yeah, exactly. And there's that Lee Sin that we talked about, so... number of options on G2 side. I can see Pick, I can see Engage. I think Lee Sin could be one of those bridging champions. I remember a few weeks back, Yamato, we were talking about drafting theory and how to put together a comp. Lee Sin can help, champions that need some time to scale up and get you there. Do you think it's going to be enough, especially when we see now again Leona, like, Mad are going all in on this early options?
It's all about the jungle choice. I'm gonna wait because I can't predict what Shadow plays, honestly. For me, it's a Lee Sin Gragas one trick, so whatever he's going to show here is going to be surprising regardless. Please not Rek'Sai. Please.
This is going to be a big question. Rek'Sai was banned earlier, wasn't it, if I recall correctly? And the question I'm going to ask you now is, now that Elise is locked in, what would be your expectation on Shadow's performance? Because I think his variance on champions is significant. Lee Sin game, great. Gragas game, great. Kindred game, meh. And now we've got Elise, and the final lock-in here is going to be the Cassio for PERKZ.
Okay, so at least Cassio is going to have a good matchup. To go back to your Shadow point, it's kind of hard. It's so hard to know. He had like one good Olaf game throughout the split. He played a lot of Gragas and Lee Sin, and everything else is kind of a coin flip, Shadow has been playing super well this series besides the Kindred game, but then again, same thing as the Jankos point before. I don't think his lanes gave him that many options because the enemy team just had prio everywhere. They were suffocating him. This is going to be a different case because Shadow has so many lanes to play for. Kaiser and Leona are gonna be able to push bottom and go all in. Mid lane as well, Renekton against Cassio is a tough matchup, but still Renekton can sacrifice some HP, play with the TP, and then use that pressure to walk around with Elise. All across the map, Elise has a lot of options. G2 need to play the survival game, Jankos needs to not do aggressive plays, just play defensive, cover the dives, and then G2 maybe can scale.
The mistakes that G2 Esports have made this series that have been punished by Mad cannot happen again if they want to survive this series, if they want to push it to Game 5. The composition that Mad Lions have put together, the play that Mad Lions have demonstrated today, I believe in Mad Lions to close the series out here. The way it's happened, the way I've seen these players step up. Now let's see if Mad Lions get ahead of themselves, if they can calm the nerves, calm the excitedness. We're about to find out as Mad Lions are match point against G2 Esports. Welcome back. We are loaded up into game. Yamata Cannon, I need you to help me. My memory's not that great, but I seem to remember PERKZ playing Cassiopeia against Splice in an elimination game. It was do or die. It was either match point, it was Game 5, and I remember him flashing over a blue buff to come and kill all of Spice and, you know, push them over the brink. Do you happen to remember when that series was?
Honestly, I can't remember. You're putting me on the spot. I'm trying to dig deep. Was it against me?
I'm 99% sure that it was, and I think it was regional qualifier. I don't have access to as many tools as I usually do when we're in the studio, so I'm gonna check this out later. But the point I wanted to get to was, if you need a point man, if you need a player to step up and to deliver a carry performance to force you to Game 5, to put you in a position to win the series, putting a player like PERKZ and a champion like Casso, that he's done it in the past, is a way to start. Now, we've already said, don't make mistakes, don't concede any kills or give Mad Lions advantages, because their comp is just going to be stronger in the early stages of the game. So we're looking for clean play from G2 and Yamato. I want you to point out mistakes or trends that we've seen series-wide, because fans at home, the analyst desk, us on the caster desk, we've been pointing out the issues that G2 are displaying, and Mad have beautifully been catching them, killing them, and taking advantage.
The key thing for me is I feel like G2 always try to be the aggressors when they don't need to be, overstepping on dives, dying to TPs over and over. I don't think they need to force anything. Speaking of forcing, Jankos is going for level 2 gank already. Why not? Let's see how it pans out, Trevor.
Let's see what happens. Waiting in the wings. I'm taking a look where Shadow is. He's all the way in the northern quadrant. And he is able to survive. So nothing really happens. No opportunity. Carzzy and Kaiser, they didn't push forward. They played fairly aggressively all series long. So maybe Jankos was just there to counter that play.
Jankos loses a lot of tempo here. It's not normal to go for level 2 gank on Leona, because Leona doesn't want to play aggro early. She needs to get level 2. Usually G2 with their lane is going to be able to push and bounce, so it's very strange that they go for this. Feels almost desperate. The key thing for G2 is that they need to play through mid at all times. Cassio leads them 2v2, super strong. I don't want them to make plays on the other side of the lanes, because that's where Mad Lions is stronger. Mad Lions need to snowball.
Okay, well, let's see what happens. Shadow's not making his way into this jungle. There's still a fair amount of time. Level 3 on Shadow. The Queen goes wide and the volatile spiting doesn't find a target. Jankos thinks about a play. The thing that I do like, though, is that if Shadow can make it into really any of his lanes, the setup and the follow-up for any ganks is just ridiculous. Set, Renekton, Leona, they all do so much to combine with Elise. So he's just looking for the right opportunity, and if that presents itself in the next few minutes, that's how Mad Lions can take advantage and get ahead.
Yeah, the Mad Lions are definitely... Oh, okay.
Alright, a lot of engage. Orome almost solo killing Wunder, admittedly Set versus Orne. How do you judge that? Is that good play by Orome or bad play by Wunder?
Honestly, Wunder getting intoxicated by the perfume smell of the turret. That's how I imagine the turret smelling, and he just... went into it, got the turret aggro, not so good.
Okay, Shadow's now showing up in the bottom lane. We'll be catching Jankos. The TP's coming down earlier from Mad Lions. First blood is available for them. Whoa, that's it! The First Blood King concedes First Blood because Shadow is there. Humanoid's teleport, I think it got interrupted. I would assume a miasma or something. I'd like to check that later. But it happens. Shadow and Mad, they strike first with an early game comp and in the bottom lane.
It's so weird here for G2 to be the ones aggressing there onto the bottom side, because they were the ones forcing. I think they need to play it cool, because Leona, Kaiser, Elise are so powerful in these early engagements. I think G2 still need to play through mid lane. That's where Renekton is going to struggle. 2v2 mid is the way forward. We have a dive, Trevor.
Oh, we do indeed. Caps is going to be running for his life. No flash, no cleanse. Shadow with the second. Carzzy's now going to look for another. He does get taken out. Mikyx throws out one of those autos from Yuumi, but it's 3 kills to 1. It's a 1,500 gold advantage. And oh my word, 3-0 Elise. Oh, that's unfortunate as Kaiser donates another kill to Mikyx. But honestly, accelerating an Elise in match point with this comp, Mad Lions, this is fantastic.
And just here, G2, they are the ones forcing the case here. They were in such a good lane position. We have the TP situation. That's the cancel that you saw with your third eye somehow, Trevor. Super, super cool. We had the continuous fight. Just the fact that Lee Sin is forcing, they was in such a good position. They have the lane that wants to poke. Kaiser needed to base, he was low, and then they gave them away back by just forcing. And Leona and Elise just popped off and got the kill. And then we have the dive as well, Trevor.
Unbelievable. Mad Lion. Oh, wait, hang on, it's not done yet.
I can't jump back in.
Oh my word, Mikyx gets the save. All of a sudden, Wunder's in trouble. He goes down. Orome and Shadow, they get one top. Kaiser, Zenith Blade onto Mikyx. If he hops out, can maybe do something. But they get another kill top. They're now spreading the love. Orome manages to get advantage, and PERKZ roamed from mid. But do you feel it, Yamato? It's happening. Mad Lions with another fantastic play, and Jankos goes down.
My goodness, if someone just woke up now and tuned into these series without nameplates, they would think that Mad Lions is G2. They are finding aggression all across the board. Mikyx surviving with 1 HP, the dive onto top side, Lee Sin dying, Ornn dying. The crazy thing is, G2 are not playing through their one pressure point. Use Casio. Oh my, what the?
It's faster than recalling. It's faster than recalling. Caps will do an arcane shift backwards, gets tagged out as Carzzy's now stepping forward. Here comes Orome. Arome's going to be able to help out. It may not even be needed. And it's going to be another kill to Carzzy. 2,500 gold in the lead. During game 1 of this series, Yamato, I said that pound for pound, Mad Lions maybe don't have superstars. Frostkurin said, well, Trevor, maybe this is the birth of the next generation of superstars. Shadow on this Elise is playing so well. Kaiser and Carzzy have been the better 2v2 this entire series. And honestly, they are on the verge of making history.
This is a great game position. Right now, they are super, super far ahead. Oh my goodness. Oh, at least we have one positive play. Humanoid should die.
We do indeed. Dominus? No! Dominus in the flash! Humanoid's able to escape with his life. Call of the Forge God doesn't find its target. Level advantage for Shadow. And Humanoid also escapes. I mean, it's just all going right for the Mad Lions.
I just feel like G2 completely lost sight of what their composition is about. Not patient at all, forcing over and over. Mad Lions have it easy.
I mean, look at this. 4-0-1. Runic Echoes completed. Orome grabs 2 and pulls them together in another beautifully executed dive. I'm sorry you haven't got a chance to speak, Yamato, but this has just been play after play after play that Mad Lions has landed.
It keeps continuing. G2 need to stop the bleeding. They need to activate their inner origin. They need to understand that they need to start trading sides and use that 2v2 power in mid. But with how fed Elise is and every member of Mad Lions, all of those opportunities of pressure are beginning to close down. G2 need to wait for a very, very deep late game in order to make something happen. They are in a position in the game where they need to wish and hope for Mad Lions' mistakes, because that is the only way they get to use their composition and what it's good for.
I'm at a loss for words. 4,000 gold lead at 9 minutes. And okay. Mad Lions are going to look to continue this tempo. They want to play proactively. They want to move Shadow around, Sork Boots, Runic Echoes for tower dives. How do G2 stem the bleeding? What do they have to do to prevent this being their series end?
I think it's all about predicting the next play from Mad Lions. It's easy to know that they're going to go for that Rift Turret, they're going to try to use it in order to maybe break the mid turret, because that's difficult for them. Mad Lions have a hard time sieging. They need to open up that space in mid in order to, of course, then find the flanks onto that Cassio and the Ezreal that want to wave clear in mid lane. If they manage to stop this and maybe trade somehow, like the Drake here, then G2 should be very, very happy. Just predict the next Mad Lions play, trade for something, stop the bleeding.
Okay, this is going to be a difficult task, especially once the Rift Herald comes down. So G2 need to be ready to counter that play. You know that they do have some options as this game scales up. Ezreal, Yuumi, Ornn will be disgusting if the game is not over. But Caps is now looking to put a play onto Carzzy. He's going to start playing with a little bit of the ultimate there. Not going to find the CC Shadow. Summons the Rift Herald actually behind the tower. The Call of the Forge God not really going to do a whole lot. Waiting for the Cocoon. Goes a little bit wide, but tower number 1 is picked up. And while that was going on, G2's attempt in the bottom lane thwarted as Carzzy was able to flash to safety.
Yeah, it's just Mad Lions are very happy because they're pressing tab and just Ezreal has a tear, right? There's no threat at all. Tears usually is a sign of weakness in some cultures.
Not modern day. I can tell you with a lot of pride and honesty that when I'm happy, I cry my eyes out.
Me too.
Cannon.
I've done it on camera, man.
I might actually cry if Mad Lions win this series. I can't really think of a bigger upset in EU history. Back to back LEC champions in 2019. World finalists. Like, this roster of players, albeit PERKZ and Caps have swapped. I'm getting very ahead of myself. It's 11 minutes into the game. But it is, of course, the consequences, the stakes that you're talking about. And that's what Mad Lions are looking at. So anyways, let's bring it back in. We're only 11 minutes in. Looking at items, Trinity Force completed for Orome already. Manamune completed for both bot laners. And Renekton is working his way up. Got the Cutlass, got the Kindle Gem. What would you like to see from Mad Lions to take advantage now further? It's been a few minutes. They haven't got more kills yet. They're slowing down, my man.
It's all about, I think the key reason why the game has been slowing down is because, okay, never mind. He gets away. That's not so good.
Shadow's going to be able to flash over the wall, chased down by Caps. And what goes up must come down, and then it gets squashed. So anyways, Caps gets a kill back. So yes, talk me through it after we see a small donation to the Help G2 Fund.
So the key thing is always the sequence of how you break turrets is always side lane into middle, because when you break the side lane turret you get access to that flank, and it's so easy for Cassio and Ezreal and Yuumi to just wave clear, so that mid turret is going to stand. The next herald that is going to spawn is going to be super key for Mad Lions, but the key thing there, the key mistake that Shadow did was no one was showing on bottom lane. No one was showing where could G2 be. All of them were grouping around mid lane, they want to defend that mid turret. Shadow didn't need to force anything because G2 was giving up the thing that they need to do, just keep giving up. Shadow gave them a kill back. They're very, very happy to take away because there was a lot of shutdown money there.
And all credit here to G2. They've stemmed the bleeding for the last few minutes. There's been some shenanigans as the lanes have obviously swapped. Yes, they have lost 2 towers, but they haven't put themselves in positions to get killed just yet, which is something that hasn't been true for many previous games. And just as I say that, Kaiser and Humanoid making their way towards this bottom tower, playing towards the objective you just mentioned, Yamato. Get those outers, play towards mid. Infernal is going to be up in a minute and a half. With an Ocean already picked up, we got either a Mountain Rift or a Cloud Rift on the way. And again, both of them could be influential, but it looks like a stare down, a duel. You draw first, I dare you.
Yeah, at this point in time, I hope Lee Sin understands his place. He needs to back off, because looking at his 0-3-2 scoreline, he should know that it's not his time to fight. Later down the line, though, these cleanses are going to give a lot of value. Cassio, Yuumi, so good at kiting. Mad Lions, tough to engage with. Okay, they're going.
Yeah, they absolutely are. Mad Lions dive all the way in. They've made it 0-4-0. Jankos goes down, but Humanoid goes back. G2 are not done without a fight. Cocoon insta-cleansed, as you mentioned, Yamato. Slam dunk by Orome.
PERKZ.
It's a double for PERKZ. G2, they're right back in it. Triple for PERKZ on the Cassiopeia. Just when G2 Esports needed it. The team fight and the kills go to exactly who you want.
My goodness, they get a fight victory. Drake was about to spawn. Mad Lions were face checking into G2, and we mentioned it before. Even though Mad Lions are ahead and they're snowballing with this composition, they cannot skip steps. If they manage to throw some gold back into the pockets of a Cassio, Ezreal, Yuumi, how are you gonna gain access? The only hope is to land like a solar flare, or maybe find a kind of a flank with the set, but with no set TP, it becomes more difficult. Cleanses on key targets in perks and caps makes it more hard to engage. The Mikyx is also finished on Yuumi. They need to be more careful. Still in a dominating position because of the gold, but their composition is going to fall off.
Man, it's so important you mentioned that, because I just looked at the engage and I was like, oh yeah, safe engage. Yuumi ult, Ornn ult. And when you look at Mad Lions, they need Jankos, they need Shadow or Kaiser to go like straight in, right? You don't have that distance. You're reliant on skill shots or a flank or throwing yourself at the enemy. So that's another kill into Jankos, 0-5. Not the greatest game right now, but he has been bullied. He has been picked on by Mad Lions, and they'll pick up their first Drake.
The key thing with these snowball compositions, what we've been seeing in every region, honestly, LPL, LCK, LEC as well, is that you secure those early Drakes. This is the first Drake Mad Lion secures at 15 minutes. Usually you want to threaten that, 25 minutes Dragon Soul, but that is not on the table now. And Mad Lions, we've been trying to figure out ways of how they pressure the game. The next way is going to be to try to get that Rift Feather for the mid turret, but if they don't manage to do it, it's going to be hard to break down the doors of G2's composition. Mad Lions heavy early game, they need to continue to snowball, and the way to do it is through side into mid, but diving is so hard against G2.
Yeah, it will be. The Ezreal, the Lee Sin, Miasma, Ornn. The thing is, they do have a significant advantage in the gold. They do have some wiggle room in itemization for the time being. Humanoid on that Renekton, still working towards that Blade of the Ruined King. He's still ramping up, needs a little more time. Mad Lions now pushing into the jungle. They caught themselves Wunder. Not really sure you can do a lot about that though, as his tankiness is going to be really difficult to burn through. And again, this was about slowing down, it was stemming the bleeding. G2 have not only successfully done that, but now they're taking a tower, taking a lot of damage on the tower, I should say, as well as picked up crucial kills for PERKZ Cassiopeia.
I wonder if G2 are coming to terms with the idea of just not fighting. I felt like they came in, the games have been so grudge-filled that everyone's taking every fight that they see, every opportunity that they see. Imagine a world where G2 slowed down much earlier in this game and there wasn't this 5k gold gap, maybe a 2k gold gap, a turret or something like that. It would have been so fine. And all of a sudden I'm starting to think, the compositions that we usually saw in the LEC, if we saw this in a regular season match, I would instantly favor G2. But in this series, it's been so early game centered because of how brutal these teams have approached it. But now G2 slowing down, it kind of changes the whole tempo of things. This gold advantage is going to mean less and less as we continue.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think, like, I definitely bought into it. I saw the Renekton first pick. I started yelling. I saw the set, the Leona. And I was like, we're on board. Mad Lions pick up those 5 kills. And I was all aboard the Glad Lions hype train. As it stands, though, they're finally going to break that mid turret. Cocoon will not find its target. And now I'm just waiting to see where the rest of the team is. Wunder doesn't look like he wants to engage. He's made his way to the top lane. And all of a sudden, that 5,000 gold lead is feeling less impactful. But you can't deny the fact that Mad Lions are still in a strong position, and G2 have played sloppy this series longer than they've played clean, right? So there's still this air of continually proving that they've tidied up all of their gameplay for the remainder of this game and to force the deciding game 5.
If we look at how Mad Lions could potentially snowball further, is to try to kill targets on side. They have 2 TPs. Another way is they need to start throwing out abilities in order to start forcing these cleanses. They need to get through so many cleanses with the Mikyx, Cassio cleanse, Ezreal cleanse in order to get like a clean fight, because if you can't latch on to these targets, you're not going to win. It's also Shadow is not on his Lee Sin, he's on his Elite, so he can't pull off some miracle kicks either. It's going to be very difficult to snowball this. They need to start to find kills on side. They need to make sure that this Cassio is not farming, this Ornn is not farming, because this is looking tricky right now.
Well, that's definitely not the case. 193 CS for PERKZ, plus 25 his official lane opponent. Seraph's completed, Leandri's completed. It's a 600 gold lead for now. Wunder is currently significantly behind Orome. Obviously, 3-0-2 versus 0-2-2. However, the value that Orn will give his teammates once he starts upgrading them will make up for that deficit. And the thing that is just very interesting to see is now this adaptation. And I keep going back to the statement that you had at the beginning of the day, Yamato. This series will like define and set the tone for the rest of playoffs. And the tone right now is, you know, spring playoffs is up for the taking. If Mad Lions can push G2 this far and can be in this position, I wonder what Fnatic and OG are thinking. I wonder what Misfits and Rogue are going to feel when they watch these games. Because whichever one of these two teams loses, they will drop to the lower bracket. And they will get another shot at playoffs in round 2.
You know, as a fan, as a coach, as a caster, I'm always in love with those stories that just inspire others. This gives, definitely, I agree with you, the hopes, if the teams already didn't have it, that G2 is beatable. If it bleeds, you can kill it, in the words of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It's definitely the case, and now all of a sudden Mad Lions, after the exceptional play, after the exceptional 2v2s earlier, they've started the Baron. They're looking to force G2's hands. They get tagged by the True Shot Barrage, but the Baron gets stopped. Mad Lions are low and G2 are very close. Dominus comes up. Zenith Blade catches on to PERKZ, but he turns around the Petrifying Gaze. That manages to stun 2. The knockup from Wunder is fantastic. G2 have turned this game around from what felt like a 10-minute loss to what feels like a 20-minute victory. 4 quick kills in succession. They close a 5,000 gold gap. They pick up the Baron uncontested because they killed all of the Mad Lions.
My goodness, Mad Lions just started the Dasher. Just at the time where Ezra got 2-item power spike with the Muramana finish. Why not? Let's make it easy for G2. It's kind of strange how Mad Lions kind of didn't really figure out the puzzle of how they're supposed to pressure the game the moment G2 kind of stopped running into them. G2 started trading sides, they started stepping away from Mad Lions, they tried to bait them in, they got a couple of kills. Same with this Nasher, the way they started it, they have no one to tank it. Renekton has only Mercury, he's dying to the Nash alone here. And then the team fight, very easy for Cassio and Ezreal to kite. Orome tries to flank, but this is an Orome with a Bami Cinder, not like a sniper set. He is a bit more on the tankier side, and when everyone on his team is there, he's not gonna come to anything either. And with this Nasher and the gold being relatively even, G2's composition reigns supreme. Now, my goodness, I don't know how Mad Lions are gonna come back into this one.
Oh man, what a crazy turn of events. I definitely got wrapped up in the craziness of the early game, and I bought into the hype of the rookies, and I was in love. Like Carzzy and Kaiser again, I still think in the laning phase have been the stronger 2v2 by a significant margin. But as G2 stopped giving up those kills and clawed it back, they just played 2 crucial team fights well. Picked up 3 or 4 kills in the mid lane a few moments ago, correction, about 10 minutes ago, and now 3 or 4 kills that led to Baron. They've got themselves 4 towers in a matter of seconds. They've got Baron empowered minions. And they're pushing themselves into Mad Lions space. They're pushing us to a Game 5 in our first series of playoffs. So Wunder, before the Forge God comes up, that will kill the minions. And with the help of the tower, Humanoid's in trouble. Now Orome, he gets chunked out low. Wunder is able to survive and get the TP out of Mad Lions. Oh my word, how much more are G2 going to get from this? They get the inhibitor. They're going to get an inhibitor turret. They've got the gold lead all of a sudden. Yamato, this is brutal.
This is just, honestly, that was desperation to the max. I can't see a world where Mad Lions actually make a comeback. They need to have some crazy mistakes from Caps. Could happen. Has happened. Why not? But they need maybe 5 of those in order to come back into this game, because their composition is shit.
Oh my word. It worked it was a laning phase comp, right? And you get suckered into what can we do laning, but then the question of what do you do after that, there just wasn't a good answer.
Yeah, they needed to find the snowball onto the side lanes. They needed to continue going. Honestly, now with G2's kind of position in this game, they have the scaling. Everyone has played against an Ezreal Yuumi when they have 2 items and Ornn that begins to build. Everyone knows the story of these champions. It is going to be straightforward for G2 to finish. But the key thing that I want to highlight, Trevor, is I feel like this is the first time where G2 showed like that mid to late game decision making, that was more intelligent. I feel like this entire series has been all about, you know, just fighting. G2 realized that they can slow down and play cool, and that worked perfectly. I wonder how Mad Lions is going to adapt coming into the next games, because G2, in the middle of this game, managed to actually adapt.
Yeah, I agree with that. And also it's important to call out that all of the good plays that Mad Lions have shown this series, making plays happen, tower diving, looking for kills, all of that has happened. The difference is G2 didn't make as many mistakes. And now Mad Lions look for the engage onto G2. PERKZ goes very, very low, brings up the shield. Petrifying Gaze comes down, but that was a fantastic call of the Forge God. Humanoid's the first to fall. Orome will be next. Turns it around, and now all of a sudden Mad Lions are running for their lives. G2 Esports in a 5 versus 3 can push into the base with super minions. And they've set themselves up for a game 5 against Mad Lions. They cleaned up their play, but it is important to call out that Mad still generated a significant advantage in the early game. We've traded game for game back and forth as now G2 are pushing in. Last stand for 3 members of Mad Lions. Carzzy's got his ultimate available, but this is such a difficult task. No solar flare for Kaiser. He will get taken out in a moment or two. Shadow repels up. Carzzy is just running for his life. 1, 2, 3 members of the Mad Lions are down. The Pride is killed, and G2 Esports will force a deciding game. And it's going to be up to Mad Lions to stop it from happening. 1 or 2 lost kills here for G2 Esports as the Super Minions will look to finish the Nexus. 2 games apiece for the Mad Lions and G2 Esports.
At the beginning of the day, if someone told me we're going to 5 games, I would say you are crazy. But in all of honesty, we've reached this point in time. We've had some crazy early games, and it felt like in this game things began to calm down. I think we saw a hint of what G2 can do when it comes to just decision making around how they need to play the mid to late game, not just face first, because I felt like there was a lot of ego there, and maybe kind of this scrim environment, the scrim mentality of always fighting and testing limits needs to kind of step out of the way. And the question now is, how will Mad Lions adapt? Because this full early game composition, the pattern that we saw throughout the day, is it no longer there. Early game super important, but you need to find balance.
But it's so important as well to acknowledge that like Mad Lions have earned those victories, right? And yes, you know, we've seen mistakes from G2 that have been punished, but when Mad Lions had a composition that could transition from lane to mid game, they played it very well, and it's going to be up to Mad Lions to pick this side selection. I think draft can be crucial in this next game. The idea of win lane, win game doesn't really apply now after this last matchup. And now your mentality and your fortitude is truly tested. Whoever wins this series will go up against the victor of Fnatic versus OG. And it will come down to game number 5. As an aside, Valorant might be hype, but this is next level.
Oh, you want to play? Let's play. Sit down. Going up.
One enemy remaining.
One drop.